Hey Parkview Panthers, Miss Tracy here. Today we are reading The Dragon Machine. I love the art in this book. Here we go. George noticed his first real dragon on a rainy Thursday, and the more he looked, the more dragons he saw. Ignored and overlooked, the dragons went unnoticed, just like George. Dragons perched on the telephone wires and lurked in the trash cans. They chased butterflies through the tulips, and they teased the cat. They sank the water lilies in the pond, and George fed them stale cookies and smelly cheese. And that's when the trouble began. The dragons followed George everywhere. George spent more and more of his time cleaning up muddy footprints and saying he was sorry for breaking things he had not broken. George's dragons were becoming too troublesome to stay unnoticed for much longer. Something had to be done. George went in search of some advice. The dragons followed George to the library. He consulted the Encyclopedia of Dragons. There were dire warnings. Never feed a dragon. Never let a dragon into your home. Too late, thought George. There were also tragic tales of dragons discovered and captured. And then he found a map of the place where the dragons belonged. It was a great wilderness, ignored and overlooked and safe. But George knew he would have to show them the way. George drew plans for a machine. The machine had a beginning, a middle, and a tail end. It had lots of pipes and pulleys and beautiful, strong wings. George hammered in the last nail, and he packed up cookies and smelly cheese, and then climbed up into the cockpit. His dragon machine lumbered, engine ticking gently into the night sky, and the dragons followed. The machine clicked and whirred over a sleeping town. It rattled and clunked over the moonlit fields and woods. The dragons followed. It clattered and banged and blundered into the great wilderness with a crash. The dragons followed. George was so tired from his journey that he fell asleep in the wreckage of his dragon machine. By morning, all the dragons were gone. There was an emptiness all around and inside George. And an emptiness at home where George should have been. His parents searched the town. They searched the fields. They ventured into the great wilderness looking for George and found him among the broken pieces of his dragon machine. George and his dreams of dragons went home. Everyone was happy to see George, and George was happy to be back. He was no longer ignored or overlooked. His parents baked a huge cake to celebrate his return and even gave him a dog as a present. George was the only one who noticed there was something unusual about his dog. And George loved him all the more. The end.